Game of Thrones has returned. On April 14th, the world-famous television show came back for its 8th and final season after nearly 2 years without any new content. With it comes a whole new influx of theory and analysis videos that delve deep into the story. I'd be lying if I said I haven't spent ridiculous amounts of time watching these different videos, but along the way I noticed something quite interesting. Many videos discussed connections between episodes, cinematography, character interactions, and much more, but I have yet to come across anything that places sound and music on center stage. With that in mind, this video aims to revisit past Thrones episodes and think critically about the sound and music present throughout. I'll specifically be focusing in on 2 major events throughout the history of the show, so get ready for some old memories. Season 3, Episode 9, The Rains of Castamere. This episode features one of the most famous scenes in Game of Thrones history, the Red Wedding. Most people watching this that are familiar with Game of Thrones undoubtedly know what happens here, so let's get right to the sound. I specifically wanted to focus in on the semi-diegetic incorporation of the Rains of Castamere song that the band starts playing within the keep. Take a look at this scene here. As soon as the first note of the song rings out, you can tell something is wrong. It immediately creates a somber and foreboding atmosphere, and although the song quickly changes into a somewhat more joyful tune, the very first notes that ring out are impossible to forget. As a result, the song establishes a rising sense of tension that eventually begs for release, and it gets it. I also mentioned that this song is semi-diegetic because while it does originate from within the film world, it carries across many shots such as those outside the keep that wouldn't be able to hear the band playing. So in that regard, it was a choice by the filmmakers to tie the whole sequence together. This specific choice also helps to have a profound effect on the audience in the sense that they certainly hear the music, but start to feel it more and more. Isabella Van Elfren, a professor of music at Kingston University, explains this in her publication, Sonic Horror. She talks about how sound has concrete physical effects on the viewer, and in the case of Rains of Castamere, this rings true too. The song creates a rising sense of unease and possibly even fear within the audience that can lead to actions such as involuntary tensing up and wincing in preparation for the inevitable bad outcome. The prominence of the music is vital in helping this feeling take root as well, as the impact would have been lost with an underlying background song. One important thing to note that I did not know about initially is the actual history behind the song itself. In the Game of Thrones lore, The Rains of Castamere was a song initially written to commemorate the destruction of House Rain by a younger Tywin Lannister. And guess who orchestrated the Red Wedding? Tywin Lannister. How fitting that this song created in memory of Tywin's victory against a past great house is used just moments before the slaughter of prominent figures of another great house.
The Lannisters send their regards.
Season 6, Episode 10, The Winds of Winter. Now this episode is crazy good just like the rest, but that song, holy hell. Ramin Djawadi created a masterpiece with The Light of the Seven that just holds such power in the episode. Let's quickly take a look at a few shots that incorporate the song.
All right. I'm ready.
Cersei is not here. Tommen is not here. Why do you think they are not here?
If the accused is not here, she will be tried regardless. We cannot escape the justice of the gods.
Forget about the bloody gods and listen to what I'm telling you.
Now the entire song is nearly 10 minutes long, so we can't watch the whole sequence, but I think you get the idea. This song is unique in the sense that it feels out of place when it starts up. Throughout the entire history of the show, much of the score had been fully orchestrated pieces, but Light of the Seven uses a piano as the main instrument to start things off. This juxtaposition immediately captures the audience's attention and says, hey, this is important. This song is incorporated in a slightly different way than Reigns of Castamere as well. Instead of originating within the film world, it simply starts playing as the scene at hand unfolds as a non-diegetic element of sound. This is a very common cinematic practice, which Isabella van Elfren also comments on in her piece, saying that we often hear sound rather than perceive its physical origin. So the song has no physical source, but it doesn't matter at all and still impacts the audience fully. In a similar sense to the Reigns of Castamere, Light of the Seven creates a somber atmosphere that is continually uneasy. The length and gradual rise of the song causes a very slow but effective increase in tension that is once again met with a grand release. Now you might be asking yourself, why is this all important? Although I brought up some basic points while discussing the scenes, there is another layer that I have not mentioned yet. This layer is the direct connection between the songs and the prominent characters on screen in each scene. Without the specific sounds and song used, one could probably piece together character motivation and thought through different cinematic elements, but there wouldn't be as much depth to it. In essence, sound and music allows the audience to look past what they are simply seeing on screen and look at characters with a new lens. For example, let's go back to the Red Wedding. I discussed how the song is foreboding and causes a rise in tension and suspense, but in a way, it also acts as a reflection of how Catelyn Stark's mind is working at the time. Take what I said about the song, for example. It starts out with dark notes, but quickly tries to change to a more melodic and joyful tune. Catelyn's mind is working in a similar way. When the soldier closes the door and the music starts playing, you can tell she is confused and suspicious that something is going on. She does not act upon these thoughts, though, and continues to sit down for the rest of the feast to enjoy it. However, she can't shake that suspicion off, just like how the song can't shake the initial feeling of the notes off. When Walder Frey starts talking, the music stops, and Catelyn realizes what's going on, but it's too late. In essence, the song serves to show how Catelyn knew something was going on, chose to ignore the thoughts at first, but then realized what was really happening. The incorporation of the music into the film world itself allowed the song to be heard by Catelyn as well, which accelerated her confusion and rising panic inside. If she recognized the specific song as well, she was probably having a really bad time. Now back to the Sept of Baelor. One important note to mention is that Cersei Lannister is one of the characters responsible for the massacre. With this in mind, why wouldn't the episode have used something like the Reigns of Castamere to continue the poetic Lannister slaughter or some other Lannister music? After thinking about this, it's because the main focus isn't on just a Lannister taking part in some act, but on Cersei herself. At this point in the show, much of her family is gone, and she has entered into a completely new territory of cruelty and inhumane ways. Bringing it back to the cold and unusual sounds of the piano, this is highly representative of Cersei's cold and inhuman actions she continually commits. The Reigns of Castamere had already been used in the show for a slaughter as well, so bringing back that specific song would have ruined the mystery and suspense that surround that sequence. The song cleverly speaks to other characters as well. Margaery Tyrell specifically seems to be the only one who initially catches on to the fact that something is wrong. As the music quickens and becomes more frantic, so does Margaery, which reflects her rising sense of inner panic in a similar sense to Catelyn, only Margaery is more vocal about it. The music then stops, and the characters realize that their fate is sealed, which is exactly how things went down with the Red Wedding. I hope that this video allowed you to reconsider some of the music present in Game of Thrones as an element of sound. The scores for the show are incredible and do such a good job in coinciding with what is happening on screen. If you'd like to check out more examples, take a look at the Loot Train attack and focus in on how the music reflects Jaime's thoughts. The video is coming to an end here, but don't be afraid to consider other uses of sound in the show as well. Silence is a uniquely powerful tool that holds great power when used appropriately. To see this, check out the ending sequence in Hardhome. One last moment that is a cinematic masterpiece is Jon's Fog of War sequence during the Battle of the Bastards, where the camera follows him unbroken for around a minute. The pure sounds of war here also lend a lot of meaning to Jon's character in the show, but we won't discuss that now. I hope I was able to create an informative and interesting video, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.